There really is a flood. It means there is a money pit. Think of the laborious effort. But even more important than the laborious effort, disaster hits Oak Island as the money pit floods again, threatening to destroy the crew's heavy machines. Thick mud surges upward, trapping equipment and sending workers into panic. Rick Lagina bravely edges toward the flooded pit, desperate to find what's causing the disaster. Let us now reveal what Rick spots beneath the muddy water. A mysterious wooden tunnel, carved centuries ago, suddenly collapsing before his eyes. When the money pit fought back, it all started early that day on Oak Island. The sun barely pushed through thick clouds hanging low over the digging site. Everything was wet, muddy, and quiet, except for the rumble of machines and the buzz of walkie-talkies. The crew had a feeling it might be a big day. Hopes were high, and boots were deep in the muck. Everyone stood around the big drill rig near the infamous money pit, that stubborn hole they've been chasing for what felt like forever. Generations of treasure hunters had come and gone, but that hole never gave up its secrets, only more dirt and problems. But this time, something was different. Something buried deep was about to change all those years of investigations. The team fired up their heavy-duty claw rig, a monster of a machine designed to scoop up whatever was hiding deep underground. They called it a hammer grab, and today it was going down deep, past 50 feet, past 70, until it hit 100 feet. It's difficult not to want to go down, put your hands on it, and take measurements. Unfortunately, it was too deep. That's when the machine jerked a little. The claw came up full of wood chunks, thick mud, and something that looked just different enough to make everyone crowd around. A few of the wood pieces looked squared off, maybe cut by hand. One even had a little symbol carved into it. 3 lines, kind of like a Roman numeral 3. Suddenly, everyone was pointing and snapping pictures like it was the crown jewels. They dropped the pile onto the inspection table, poked around, and nodded at each other. Someone whispered something about old construction. Maybe a tunnel, maybe a hidden shaft. It all sounded exciting, but the reality was, it was just some old wood with a few scratches. Still, on Oak Island, that was enough to get hearts pumping. While some of the crew focused on that wood pile, trouble started brewing beneath their feet. The metal casing that held the dig site together began to shudder. The ground shifted, and a thick gurgling sound echoed from below. Water, lots of it. A slow leak at first, but it picked up fast, rising through the hole like something had been cracked open down there. Some of the workers took a step back. Others leaned in, confused. Then it clicked. This was another flood. Not just a puddle, a real fast-moving, soaking wet disaster. Water poured in, mixing with clay and rock, turning the bottom of the pit into thick soup. Equipment started getting stuck. The big claw couldn't get a grip. If you want to look up in there, you can see it starting to, oh my God. There was only a certain amount of iron supporting that very massive oscillator. Every time they pulled it up, it brought more goo than clues. The sound of the rushing water filled the area. You could see it in their faces. This wasn't part of the plan. The money pit was doing what it always did when it got poked too hard. It was biting back. One of the brothers, always the brave one, grabbed a flashlight and crawled near the edge. He peered in, probably hoping to see the problem. All he saw was bubbling sludge and shadows. Still, he waved off the crew and stayed down there, kneeling in the mud. People watched from a distance, unsure if they should stop him or trust that he knew what he was doing. Back at the wash plant, the rest of the team kept their focus on the smaller finds. They rinsed, sorted, and studied every little chunk of debris they hauled out of the hole. There was a bit of leather, worn and brittle. A chunk of concrete with a weird texture. Nothing screamed treasure, but each piece was bagged and labeled like it might unlock a secret. Over by the swamp, another group waded through waist-deep water and soft ground, pulling up bits of pottery and scraps of stone. Nothing whole, just pieces. Shards that made you wonder what once stood there. Still, nothing that changed the game. They thought they were done with that spot. But one beep changed everything. Maps, myths, and the war room's revelation. Someone decided to check Lot 5 again. It was one of those spots they had searched over and over, but they still held out hope. This time, they ran a metal detector over a pile of dirt from a past dig. The machine beeped, strong and steady. They dug carefully and found it. A single copper nail. A tiny thing, green from age, but definitely man-made. It wasn't shiny, but it was solid. They rushed it to the lab. The expert showed up wearing gloves, goggles, the whole deal. He turned the nail in his fingers and gave a half smile. He said it looked like something used in shipbuilding or, well, not shipbuilding. Basically, it was old and made by someone, but that was as far as he could go. Still, it went in the box marked interesting. That evening, the crew filed into the war room. The air was thick with tired breath and coffee steam. On the table were a few books, big and dusty, with folded maps and pages filled with odd symbols. 2 researchers had come back with new theories. Their books were loaded with drawings. Some looked like treasure maps, others like puzzles no one had finished. We have your map that shows Nova Scotia, and we have a map that seems to be a French map of Oak Island. One sketch showed a weird cross pattern that lined up with a drawing of the island. That got attention fast. The 2 researchers stood tall, flipping pages and pointing to symbols. They talked about ancient builders, secret societies, old sailors, and even holy men hiding sacred stuff in the ground. They said the symbol on the wood matched a carving found on a stone tablet in Europe. They tied it all together with lines and arrows like a giant game of connect the dots. The room sat still. No one blinked. Everyone just leaned forward. The theories twisted and turned. Hidden codes, ancient tunnels, religious groups carrying gold across oceans. They mentioned the knights, secret orders, even whispered about treasure being buried as part of a mission. There was mention of Canada, popes, kings, even maps drawn centuries ago. They spoke for what felt like hours. The idea sounded wild, but nobody stood up to challenge it. It was one of those things that made no sense, but felt good to believe in. The treasure was still hiding, but hope had a new map to follow.